reference for the book, The Principles, Analysis, and Application of Effortless Combat Throws. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, I can't go into too great a detail on the tape, so please refer back to the book for anything that you don't understand. I hope you have a good time and learn a lot from the tape. The way I organize the book is around categories, and there's three broad categories of throws. The first category is arcing throws. Arcing throws are when your opponent's head goes from the upright position in an arc to the mat, either backwards, forward, or to the side. His feet stay in relatively the same position as you take him down. So if he arcs back all the way down like a back bend and falls, that's an arcing throw. The second category is circles. Circle throws, your partner's feet are going to make about a 360 revolution back to the original starting point. So for example, a hip throw or any throw where I cause him to spin around his center and his feet go 360 is a circle throw. The third category is a spiral. Spiral throws take your partner's head and it turns his body and he spirals to the ground. A horizontal that moves downward is a spiral, so he's going to twist and go downward at the same time. Spirals can come either forward when the person twists forward over his toes, or backwards and he twists back over his heels. So basically, all throws can be put into one of those three categories: arcs, circles, or spirals. The key is, it's not the technique that the thrower is doing that you look at, it's what the person being thrown's body does. The movement that he describes in space is what determines the throw. So if I cause Glenn to flip over and I stand in front of him, for example, if I do a hip throw and I throw him over and his feet make a 360 revolution, or I sit down and put my foot in his belly and throw him and he makes a 360 revolution or whatever, it's still a circle throw. So it's not what the thrower's doing, it's the motion that the person throwing's body makes in space. The next thing is the arcs, circles, and spirals can be combined as well, but you can analyze any throw into one of those three categories. There's three parts to any successful throw. The first part is the setup. You have to take the time to set the throw up correctly. If you don't set the throw up correctly, you'll end up struggling. It'll be very hard to be successful. Once you set the throw up, which means you're going to use your strength against your opponent's weaknesses, and you've got him set up, the actual throwing part that throws him to the ground. Once he's on the ground, you maintain your awareness of him and you follow up. Now sometimes the follow-up is only mental. You keep your intent on him to see if the fight's over or not. Sometimes it's actually physical. You're going to go down and continue fighting or lock your opponent's joints or strike him. Or you might escape. So there's the setup, the throw itself, and the follow-up, the three parts of a throw. In an actual technique, they all flow together into one momentum flow. They're not separate. They're not done separately. They're done in one flow. Now, effortless throws. The definition of effortless basically means once you have correct body use, you have correct posture, complete relaxation, using your body correctly and efficiently, the throw done on an opponent or your partner should be as easy to do as the same motions in the air. So for example, if I go through the motions of a throw in the air, very relaxed, when I throw my partner, it shouldn't feel any harder. If I have to use any more force or strength when I'm actually doing the technique as I did when I was doing it in the air by myself, it's not effortless. That means it's not a good throw. Or it could be a successful throw, but it could be improved. So for example, if I have my hands here and I just bend over from my waist and I drop my torso, that amount of effort should be all it takes to throw my partner over if I do it correctly. If I have to lift him or I feel any stress anywhere, that means I'm not doing the throw completely efficiently. So I want to use my strengths against my opponent's weaknesses. That way a smaller person can throw a larger person, even if they're much larger than you, and you can avoid their force. If you fight force against force, the stronger person always wins. So unless you're much stronger than your opponent, you can't win unless you avoid his force and use your strength against his weaknesses. Before you practice the throws, it's very important that you understand break falls. You're going to obviously be thrown to the ground. You need to practice on a mat or a padded surface and learn how to fall. And there's a lot of good teachers that can teach how to break fall, or you can learn it from other works. You need to learn how to break your falls and roll before you actually get taken down. Always go through the throws slowly at first and cooperatively. Now, cooperatively doesn't mean that you fall for your friend or he falls for you. It means that he just stands there honestly and lets you try the technique on him. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But he doesn't want to resist too much at first until you get the feeling of the throw. Once you have the feeling of the throw, then you can do a little less spontaneous or a little less cooperatively, a little more for real. All right. Now, there's a lot of advantages to throwing. Throws can be very devastating. You can end the fight with one throw. One good throw against the ground is often worth 4 or 5 good blows. You can practice throws for real, exactly as you would do them in a fight. There's no need to pull, like you pull a punch or put a lot of padding on. You can throw your partner on a mat just like you would in the street. Of course, in the street, you have the element of surprise. the opponent probably doesn't know how to fall, and you're falling on usually a hard surface, so it makes it much more devastating. Some of these throws involve twisting in the neck, and some involve fairly high arcing movements. So be very, very careful when you practice. And again, be sure you can break fall and you're on a mat. Okay. Remember the golden rule. Use your body correctly. And there's a whole chapter of body use and explanations and tests and drills in the book. So once you can use your body correctly, when you're going through the throw on your partner, it should be just as easy as it is to do it in the air, completely relaxed. And in the end, it all boils down to keeping correct alignment and remaining completely relaxed and using your inherent strengths and momentum and angle and leverage as opposed to brute force. Okay, thank you very much. Let's start now with the actual throws. To reiterate briefly, for the partner, he's like a human weight. Make sure that when you're in the acquisition phase, you're learning the throws, that when you're the partner, you don't want to fall for your opponent or your partner if it doesn't work, and you don't want to resist too much either. So you're just going to stand here and keep your balance while your partner practices on you. All right, so the first throw is called the shoulder stroke throw. And you have your partner hold his arm out and stand stably, and what we're going to do is we're going to transfer momentum from our shoulder through our partner's ribs and tilt him to the side. This is an arc. It's a side arc. So your partner's head is going to go from the upright position sideways to the ground, to the mat. So from here, what I'm going to do is this. This hand sticking out here represents a punch or a grab or any other kind of attack, and I need to get it out of the way. And I want to move off the attack line, which is going to be in front of my partner's body. So what I do first is, from the front, I'm going to step out with my left foot toed out, and at the same time I'm going to check behind his arm here to deflect it away from my center. I shift my weight forward and I swing my right hand up behind the elbow. It has to be behind the elbow here. I want to get a hold of his humerus bone so I can actually turn his body around and misalign his hips and shoulders. If I enter this way and I bring my right hand below his elbow or farther forward, he can bend his arm here and strike me, all right, on the entry. So what I want to do is, whether it's a punch or a grab or whatever technique, I want to make sure this is behind his elbow. Now from here, I shift my weight. I want to keep my arm extended here in its strongest position. I don't want to step in like this and then attempt to push. Now I'm only using my tricep, and if my partner's strong, there's no way I can turn him here. I can't push him. So I check here. I rotate my hand as I shift my weight forward, and I use my leg to push. I keep my arm straight. Now you'll notice here I'm pushing his elbow around to his opposite shoulder. That misaligns his shoulders and hips. We talk a lot about misaligning, breaking the posture in the book, and this is misaligning his shoulders and hips. Now his posture is very weak. I continue my forward momentum, and I press my shoulder into his rib area here. And I want to move my body up and in at 45 degrees, and that brings his weight all the way to his outside foot. Now his base is only as large as his outside foot. His leg here will come up because it's weightless. Then I pluck underneath it, and he's ready to be thrown down. Okay? So let's go through the whole throw in slow motion one time. I check, enter, shift my weight, and lift. And my partner will just fall over in a side arc. Okay, now it's very important here not to bump into your opponent. This is not a shoulder strike. If I bump Glenn here, I'm going to knock him away, and I can't join centers with him. I've lost it. I want to accelerate smoothly, speed of gravity, through here, and I want to transfer. Remember, I'm transferring momentum through here, through my shoulder. I'm not trying to strike him with my shoulder. So I step in here, and I shift my weight in smoothly and transfer momentum. I catch that leg, and I keep leaning in. Here, at this point, I can wrap his waist if I'd like to. One other point is, I want to make sure that my head is tucked in behind his shoulder. If I come in this way and I slip, he's going to hit me right here in the head. So as I step in, I want to make sure that when I enter, I'm up here so that my shoulder touches my head's here. If he tries to elbow me now, he can't. He can't build up any momentum. Shift my weight at 45 degrees to bring him up, and then I keep shifting in. Just lift his leg very relaxed. My arm stays very relaxed. Okay, it's 100% momentum. Okay, one time please, Glenn, a little bit quicker. So I move off the attack line, I enter, and throw. I want to step far enough forward with this foot to where my knee doesn't go forward of my ankle. Now my base is going to be weak, and he might pull me down on top of him. So after you throw, your foot should be here, your shin should be perpendicular to the ground. Now in actual application, the first technique is just about like the standing drill. In slow motion, my partner's going to punch me in the nose. Okay, first of all, let's talk about this. I'm looking here always at his upper chest area, and I'm using my peripheral vision. I don't want to try to watch his hands and feet. The hand's quicker than the eye. I can't stand there and try to guess which punch he's going to throw. I'm going to get hit. We talk about safe distance. I watch his torso. This is where his power comes from. Once his torso starts to cross safe distance, I move. Okay, so we're looking here, and I'm standing very relaxed. Todd comes in to punch me, okay? I just move out of the way and I cover. I'm going to cover my head and deflect his arm. This comes up from underneath. I shift my weight in, uproot him, and throw. Okay. One more time slowly. Okay, stand back just a little bit more time. So I'm at safe distance. He can't reach me now without stepping or moving his torso. As he comes in, I move out of the way. I'm covering my head here, deflecting the blow. It's not a hard block. I'm just deflecting. Comes up behind his elbow. I step in, shift my momentum in, and throw him. Okay, one more time. So he punches me. 1, 2. Okay? Thanks. All right, the next technique is off of a two-handed choke. So my opponent comes up and he's got a hold of my throat. Now, this isn't for when he's pushing me backwards. It's somebody just grabs me. He's going to hold me here. He's choking me. All right, what I want to do is I want to bring my hands up below his wrist here, very gently. I don't want to grab him. Now he's going to panic and knee me or hit me with his head. So I bring my hands up and I hold his hands where they are in place. I move away from his grip with my right foot. I let my weight compress into my right foot and I immediately spring back in. And from here, I move his hand out here from the end of the lever, come right behind his elbow, shift my weight in and throw like before. So he has a hold of me. Slowly, I go 1, 2, 3, and throw. Okay, one more time, please. So he's choking me. My hands come up as I step back, bounce out of my back leg, shift my weight and throw. One more time. Okay, two-handed choke. Don't grab tight. Use soft grip. Bring your hands up, bounce, push this across, check, move in, shift your weight, and throw. Very, very easy. Okay. The second throw is a rear head tilt. The rear head tilt is a rear arc. You're going to take your partner's head from the erect position straight back in an arc to the ground. You want to pull him straight back along his center line without twisting, so it's hard for him to escape. It's a second-class lever with his heels as the fulcrum and his whole body is the force arm. We're going to grab his head so we're very far up the force arm, so we get a lot of mechanical advantage. We're going to come up from behind. You're going to come up from behind your partner, and you're going to extend your hands over his trapezius here. You don't want to push him here and try to grab that. He'll make himself stiff and hard to throw. Now, of course, if you're fighting and you've entered behind him, you're going to strike him instead of that. When you practice, though, you want to come under here very smoothly, and your hands come right under his jaw, and you want to push forward a little bit first, then drop your elbows and tilt his head back. Now, when his head's tilted back, it locks his spine from the cervical vertebra, takes a slack out all the way into his hips. Once he's locked here, I move my body back, holding his head as part of me, and then I step back again, and I drop him to the mat. When you take your partner down in practice, be sure that you cradle his head this way so it doesn't hit the ground. In reality, if you have to, you can do just the opposite and smash his head in the ground if you really need to. Okay, so come up behind him. Be sure you don't grab and pull down. If you pull down here, it's going to be very hard to take the guy off, break his posture. You want to push forward this way first. You want him to go forward on his toes, and he'll resist, and then you want to take his chin up and around in a circle. So I push forward and I go up, then I drop my elbows here. Now, I don't want to step first then yank and use my arms. We've joined centers here. We're like one body, and I move him as part of me. Take him down. And I'm above his head, and you can follow it from here, do whatever you'd like. One more time. So, very, very important. Your hands here are a first-class lever, like a teeter-totter. The fulcrum's here on his shoulder. I'm going to use the weight of my body, my elbows, to tilt his head. So I'm not pulling up this way. It's a very big mistake. Keep your shoulders down and your arms heavy. Forward, make his chin come up and over in a circle. Move him as a part of you. Bring him to the mat. Now, be very careful. It's a very hard fall. You're falling like a tree backwards. One more time, please. Right foot forward. Come under. Push forward. Up. Drop your elbows. Bring him down. Okay, good. Now, obviously, in order to do this technique, you have to be behind the person. You have to enter to his rear. The easiest way to do that is off of a straight punch or kick. If he's throwing hook punches, it's very hard to get all the way around behind him. But if Terry throws me a straight punch, I'm going to enter from the side here. Now, it's the same theory as always. We go over it in very great detail in the book. I'm looking at his upper chest. when his torso crosses my safe distance, I move off the attack line. I always want to get out of the way of his flow of force, so I don't have to use force against force. So as he attacks me, I step out and I toe my left foot in a little bit so I can aim my center here. So we blend the motions of our torsos, and my center is joined with his now. I'm aimed at him. I bring my hands up. They're springy-like, they're very elastic-like. I don't want to block hard, which might knock me away. I kind of want to deflect his arm and keep my arms very loose here. My intent is thinking right through my opponent. I'm aimed here, right? My left hand's aimed at his center line. From here, I can strike with either hand. What I'm going to do, though, I need to get behind him. I'm going to step up again with my left foot and palm him in the chin to turn his head straight. This, of course, will divide his attention and take his mind off hitting me again for a second. My right foot comes in, I move him forward, take him down. Okay, time slow, please. So he's standing here, I'm keeping safe distance. He crosses safe distance, I move out of the way and connect. Here. Hit, you come right behind him here, forward, up and over, bring him down. Okay, move out of the way, arms are springy. Hit, come into position, drop your elbows, move his chin up in a circle, up, over, drop him down. Right here. And here you are ready to follow up. Okay. Just like a straight punch, if your opponent throws a front kick, it's also relatively simple to enter to his rear. So if Todd comes in and kicks me, I don't want to stand and try to block. Kicks are very powerful. Even if I block, it's going to hurt my arms. So he comes forward. I don't care what he's throwing. I'm getting out of the way just the same. Moving off the line of attack. As I see his foot come up, from here, I just cover myself here. I may or may not touch his leg. It doesn't matter. This hand, it's good to cover your head in case he tries to hit you with his hand above. So Todd kicks. I step out one, and I enter immediately. Take him down. Okay. Cross the safe distance. I get out of the way. I cover. I step in. Take him down. Okay, one more time. Same thing. After he's no force whatsoever, connect with him. Take the slack out of his body. Use your body weight to pull him down. So he attacks me. I check, catch, take him down. And I'm up here ready to go. Next time. The next technique is called a hip displacement. It's also a rear arc. We're going to take our opponent and throw him so that his head goes from, again, the erect position backwards in an arc. This is a little different in that he's going to move sideways as he falls. And it's called a hip displacement because we're literally going to take our hips and put them in the space that our partner's hips occupy, so it cuts his base out from under him. It's a second-class lever, and there's also a coupling effect as we're going to push one way with our hip and the other way with our arm to make him twist, so it couples. It spins him around his center line as he falls. That's what breaks his posture. So to practice, have your partner put his right leg in front, and you gently take hold of his right arm. Use soft grip. Don't grip tightly. Again, if I grip tightly, it makes me stiff, and it's very hard to move, and also if my partner moves, he can pull me off balance. So I keep my arm relaxed. I use my intent to grab very, very gently. It's very firm because I'm imagining I'm squeezing into his bone with my mind. I'm not gripping with just my muscles. Now from here, I want to swing his arm from the shoulder. If he locks his arm out, there's no way I can push it in that way. It goes right into his feet, into his bone structure. We walk, our arms swing from the shoulder naturally. So what I want to do is leave my arm heavy, so the weight of my arm takes the slack out of his arm, and I actually literally swing it to his rear. Okay, and I swing it from his shoulder. Never try to push in against him here. I won't be able to move him if he's strong. As I swing his arm, I'm going to step past him with my left foot, just past his foot here, a little bit toed in, so that I'm joined centers with him. My center's aimed at his center. Okay? And as I do that, I slide this hand right up his chest over his shoulder. So I go one, here. Now I keep my intent aimed towards his rear corner. And I bring this back. You'll notice from here, for real, if you're using this in actual fighting application, you can strike him here in the throat. You want him to lean back and misalign his posture so his shoulders and hips are misaligned to the rear. So from here, I shift my weight up and I keep my intent going forward. Now I'm going to step behind him and I'm going to turn my toe in so that my hip literally rotates in behind his hip and takes his base out. So the takedown looks like this. I step across here and I drop him. He'll fall flat on his back. Okay? Time. So I'm going to step up, one, keep my intent going forward, step across, two, and I drop my arm as he falls. Now I'm not pushing him down, I'm not using any force in my upper body. All I'm doing is dropping the weight of my arm, and I'm turning my hand over like I'm dumping out a glass of water as I do it. The weight of my arm alone will cause his upper body to fall because his base is coming out the other way. Okay. Also, it's very important when you step behind for the hip displacement. I want my hip to be behind here. The farther behind, the better. If I push on the front here with my hip this way, he's very, very stable. This is where his stance is the most stable. From the side here, it's a little weaker, but from back here, it's very weak. All right? So when I get my hip behind him, here, my hip actually touches behind his hip. See that twist? My hip moves him backwards and my hand goes forward. This twists him around his center line and it breaks his posture. The other thing you want to avoid when you're doing this is you don't want to step and then try to throw him because he's going to get his center back and you're going to be struggling. He should be falling before your right foot hits the ground. So I come up one. Now, I come up his chest here. If I swing my hand this way like I'm going to clothesline him, he's going to block. He's going to stop me from entering. So I want to sneak this hand up his chest, here, in close, so he can't get his hand in between mine and him. My hand and his body. So I go one, throw. Okay? This foot toes in. It drills your momentum into the ground so that you don't fall over. And plus it causes your hip to turn into his hip. All right, thanks. Applications. The first one, fairly common scenario in the street. Somebody grabs me and they're going to yank me in and punch me. Okay, he's going to pull me in and hit me. Grab me, he's going to pull me off balance with this hand and then punch me with his other hand. So it's very, very important here, again, not to tense my arm up. If I tense my arm up, I'm like a statue. So when he pulls me, my entire body comes forward. He pulls right out of my center. I don't want him to control my center. So I leave my arm loose, so when he pulls, I have some play there. It's loose, right? He can pull my arm, but it doesn't influence my center. So as Glenn pulls me, I'm going to step in with the pull and strike him up under the chin and swing his hand back, just like the drill before. This hand striking up under the chin brings his weight. It arches him back and breaks his posture. Also divides his attention, obviously, because he's been struck. Now he's set to be thrown. Then from here, I just drop my arm on. I don't want to take it away. He might come back towards me. I drop it on, shift my weight up, and throw. Another thing this strike does, I could strike low, but if I strike low, he might strike me in the face at the same time. Bang, we hit each other. I want to have this up here as a barrier between me and his punch. So I keep this in tight here. If he throws a really fast punch, I can always duck out and block first and then go. So you want to bring this up here towards his chin. You can cover your head with it. All right, so Glenn grabs me and he strikes. I follow the pull in and strike, shift my weight up, and throw. Okay, one more time. So he grabs me, I relax. 1, 2. Okay. Okay. In the second technique, we're going to use it as a counter to a throw. If you're locked up in grappling, standing grappling, it's a very common throw, is a rear leg sweep. People are going to twist your body and then try to kick your leg out. Okay? So I'm grappling with Terry. He's a lot bigger and stronger. You know, I can't muscle him. I'm relaxing and following. Terry twists me a little bit. He gets me off. He breaks my posture. He swings his right leg up. Now, from here, his entire base is only as big as that foot. So what I do is I move my hip in first, and I straighten my posture, and I throw him. Okay? So we're locked up. Terry twists me. He brings his foot up, and I move in first. All right? One more time. So he has to swing his foot up and then back. All I have to do is move my hip behind him and then turn. So we're here. He goes to throw. He swings me up. And I throw first. And I'm set here to follow up. Okay, thanks. Okay. The last technique is off a roundhouse punch. So I'm at safe distance. I'm watching my opponent's torso. He comes around with a big hook. I move off the line of attack and intercept early. Okay, classic example of intercepting early. I knock him back, breaks his posture. From here, I grab his wrist, move directly into the throw. Here, one more time. So I see my opponent coming forward. I move off the line of attack. I cover my head. I'm not blocking with my arm. I'm moving my body forward, checking, hitting him under the chin to arch him back. Then I shift my weight up, and I step across, throw him down. Okay, thanks. This last technique in the arc section is another rear arc. It's called the front hip push. In this technique, we're going to take out our opponent's base, and that's going to cause him to fall backwards in an arc. The previous techniques, we worked on the upper body. In this technique, we're going to stay from the hips down. Now, the front hip push is you're going to push the opponent's hip back, but we're going to do it at a 45-degree angle. when your partner has his weight on his front leg, it's the most stable straight on. This is a very stable stance. As a matter of fact, if I push him here, I'm actually making him more stable by pressing him into his base. It's a little weaker from the side here. This way's a little weaker. You can kick it this way and do damage. It's weaker. From the rear, it's weaker because it bends this way. But from the inside here, if you push someone's leg out 45 degrees, of course the femur's connected to the hip, so it pulls right out of his hip. It pulls his hip to the ground. So I push this way, it'll fall down very easily. All right, and that's what we're basing this technique on. So you have your partner stand facing you. Now, you have to have weight on the leg in order to do this. If he's got his weight on his back leg and his front leg's light, it won't work. He's got to have his weight on the front leg. I'm going to step in, toe my left foot out in front of his foot. Okay, I'm going to step around this way and just shift my weight from the inside out at that 45-degree angle and misalign his base. And now that's moved his knee, which has pulled his femur, and now his base is misaligned. His hip and knee and ankle alignment's misaligned. Continuing from that motion, I'm going to drop my weight down, bend at the hips, remember the 4 levels. I'm going to bend forward at the speed of gravity, and I'm going to put my forearm right in the crease of his hip here. I don't want to put my hand here because now I've got to raise my shoulder, and I can't get a lot of power here, only my arm. If I stand here, I can keep my posture, my shoulders down, and my humerus bone is not going to bend. So I put it here, and I'm going to transfer my momentum from my center through my humerus bone right into his center directly. Okay? So I step in, buckle his leg, continue down, and it's like I want to put my intent goes straight to the ground, like I want to put my forearm on the ground. And as he falls, it's a good idea to pick up his ankle. It keeps him from stepping, and now I can control his leg. I can do ankle lock, or if I want to follow up, I can hold on to it while I kick him. Okay, so my partner's standing is very, very stable. I toe out my foot, I step around, buckle, and weight drop into his hip, take him down. Now be sure that this foot steps deep in when you buckle his leg. If I step here and my knee goes forward, I'll lose my balance, especially if he grabs me, he can pull me down. So as I take him down, I want to step deeply and sink, keep the 4 levels, keep my head up, my chest up, and my shin 90 degrees to the ground. Okay, one more time. So from the front, I toe out, I'm going to step in, I misalign his base, I weight drop, speed of gravity, I'm not pushing with my arm, I'm just dropping my waist. I'm bending from the hips and dropping my weight into him, okay? And I pluck up his ankle, he goes down. Now if you're going to follow up, move away from this foot. Don't come up in here, it's going to start, this foot's free, it's going to kick you with it. So I want to stay out here if I want to kick him, or if I want to escape, I'm going to escape this way, away from his live foot. Thanks. Practical application. I'm going to enter, say I get caught a little bit off guard. Say I'm at safe distance, but my opponent gets a punch off very quickly. He's going to throw a straight punch. I don't have a lot of time to maneuver and get around him. So what I do here, as he hits me, is I just move back a little bit off the attack line, the line of attack. I don't want to stay straight in front of him. Now he's going to hit me again. I've got to block again. He's going to overrun me. So as he hits me, I move back and I cover from here. It doesn't matter really which foot you have forward. Okay? So I cover from here. I'm going to step around and buckle his base and then take him down. So I have my right foot back and he hits me. I move back out of the way. Now I'm going to check here, duck under, take him down. Okay. If he throws the punch and I have my left foot forward, I duck and I can shuffle in and do the same thing. Take him down. All right, one more time, please. So I feel him cross safe distance. I move out of the way and avoid, and I immediately move in. Take him down. I move away from this leg if I want to follow up with a kick or I want to do some kind of a leverage. The second technique is defense against a face-down headlock. These are very dangerous. If your opponent's trained, he knows how to guillotine, he'll get his hand right in your windpipe and he'll lift up and you'll be choking. So you have to ideally want to react immediately to this kind of a hold. First off, if you let your opponent get this close to you, you've already done something wrong. So your backup plan already. Once he gets here, if Glenn starts to reach around my neck and push me down, it's very, very counterproductive here to resist backwards. If I'm stiff now and he pulls and he's strong, oh, he's going to pull me even faster. So what I want to do in slow motion, he gets me as he pulls down. I bend down a little bit faster than he pulls, and I step right here, just like the basic technique. Now this misaligns his base. His arm loses power now, and I continue with the same takedown. Okay, so slowly again. We're fighting. He gets in on me. He starts to pull me down. I go with it. I buckle and take him down, and then I can move out away from his live leg. Okay, so we're struggling, he bends me, I buckle, take him down, I duck my head down, keep my hips bending from the hips so he falls off, and I'm out of the hold. Okay, thanks. This is the first of the circle throws, and it's an outside hip throw. Now, like explained in the book, a circle throw, arcs take the opponent's head from the upright position down either forward or back or side to the mat. Circle throws, the opponent's feet make about a 360-degree revolution then hit the mat. Okay, this is an example of one. This is called an outside hip throw. It's analogous to the regular hip throw. A regular hip throw is you grab the opponent's outside arm and you hold him around the back and you throw him from here. Okay, now that's a very good throw. The only problem with it is there's much more margin for the opponent to counter the throw. If I step in here and Glenn grabs me here, I'm stuck. Okay, so it's easier for him to counter, or Glenn can pull me back and choke me, or all kinds of things can happen from here. So an outside hip throw, I throw the same mechanic as the hip throw, but from the outside, meaning I'm outside of this arm. When I enter this way and throw, Glenn can't use his hand to stop me, and also the hand that he normally would slap the mat with to break his fall, I'm controlling, so he falls dead weight. He can't break his fall. The mechanic is this: I grab his wrist and I swing it up. Again, I keep my arm completely relaxed and use the weight of my arm, and I swing my partner's arm from his shoulder. Never grab tight and lift up. That makes you tight and it alarms him, and then he tenses up. So I swing it out, and as I do, I start to reach up behind his middle or upper back. And I lean my body in. I want to push my shoulder right here behind his shoulder and move all of his weight onto his outside foot. Now his base area is only as big as 1 foot. When I pull and I shift here, that's going to break his posture. After I pull and shift, I step across, I keep my weight going forward, and I toe my foot in. I turn, I stick my hips past his outside, and I pull his hand down towards my waist. So I'm wrapping him around my back. Once I've wrapped him around my back, I let him compress me into my feet. And as he comes over, I rebound out of my feet. We talk about stretch rebound in the book. My bones literally rebound back up out of the ground, and he flips over. Now, this is a hand he should be breaking his fall with, and I'm holding it. So be very careful when you throw your partners that they're used to this, because they're not going to be able to slap the mat. Okay? Okay, I grab his wrist, I swing this, and I step toe out, and I lean in immediately. Now I've got all of his weight onto his outside foot in one step. Now it's hard for him to push back into me now. I've come up from behind him. I've broken his posture. I step in, compress, rebound, throw him over. It's a very good throw. Now for a follow-up from here, if you maintain control of his wrist, I toe this foot in and I scoop behind his elbow. I pull his wrist up and I scoop this way to lock his elbow joint. Now I'm going to move my back foot first and use my body weight to pull. And it pulls him over onto his face, and from here you can pin with your knee, or you can drop down and pin with your arms, or however you'd like to pin. Get him on his face. Okay, one more time through. So I grab his wrist, I swing through, and I use momentum here. Right? Don't bump him away, accelerate smoothly. You join centers literally up here. Before your hips come across, you've already joined centers with him. Transfer my momentum through my shoulder, move in, bounce, hits the mat. Keep the slack out of his arm here, so you have his arm up, toe in, move your body back, and pin. Okay. This first technique is off of a cross. Now, we need to be outside the opponent's arm to throw him. If someone throws a cross, meaning he steps with his right and throws a left punch, his opposite hand and foot, it's set up directly. It's very easy to enter. So if Todd steps in and throws a left punch, I move off the line of attack like always, get out of the way of his momentum, and I turn in towards his center as always, so that I'm putting pressure onto his center. This way we blend the motions of our torsos. From here, I can hit directly, and from here I just reach around, I lean in the same, keep his weight onto his outside foot, foot comes back, turn and throw. Okay. So we're at safe distance, and I'm watching my opponent's upper chest. As soon as his torso crosses safe distance, I move. I cover and I aim in. Hit, step, spring on my feet and throw. And then if I want, I can roll him on his face and pin him. Okay. All right. Okay, the next technique. My opponent, let's stand this way a bit. My opponent grabs my wrist. Okay, grabs very tightly. Now, if you escape backwards this way, it's okay. The problem is, though, you're going backwards, and I'm pulling my opponent into me here. So he's kind of more on the offense still. So he grabs my wrist. Same rule applies. I leave my arms very relaxed. I don't want to tense up and give him a handle to my hips. So if I'm tense and he pulls me, again, I lose my balance immediately. So I leave my arms relaxed. I'm going to leave my right hand where it is in space, and I'm going to step forward and push my right elbow towards his ribs here. So I'm not trying to pull my hand out. What I'm doing is pushing my elbow forward. And see my hand will come out of his grip there. Okay, so this comes forward this way. Not backwards, elbow forwards. As I do that, I swing my hand across, and I catch that wrist, and I keep it moving away from me, so that this hand now can't reach me. If he pushes his right hand across, he can't reach. Again, he's in this same position he's set up. This is an inherently weak angle here. Again, I'm pushing perpendicular to his baseline, this way. So I push my elbow forward, I check here and pull it across. This hand's in position, I strike him underneath here, just to stun him. I reach around his back and lean in, I keep his weight on his outside foot, swing my foot back in, lift and throw. Step forward, elbow forward, catch his wrist, and keep it pulled away from me so that he can't strike you with that hand. Hit him underneath, toe my foot in. I want to move my body into him this way. See, this is a very, very weak angle. He can't resist it. All right, so that's what I'm doing. I'm leaning into him. I swing back, spring out of my feet, and throw him. All right, one other point. When Terry is a lot bigger than me, obviously I can't lift him over my back. There's no pressure on me as I'm throwing him. He's literally just rotating over my hips. So it should be just as easy to do on someone a lot bigger than you as it is to bend over by yourself. Okay, that's a general rule. One more time. So I step in, one, hit, and throw. Next turn. This is also a circle throw. It's called the headlock hip throw. It's very similar to the preceding throw, the outside hip throw, except this time we're going to transfer momentum through the opponent's head instead of through his shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to my partner's wrist, again, keeping my arm relaxed, and I'm going to swing his hand out a bit. And as I do that, I'm going to begin to swing his hand up here, and I'm going to file this very tightly around his neck. Okay? What I want to do is I want to twist his head at along two axes at once. If you turn it level this way or up and down, it moves very far. But when you go in between those two axes this way, it locks very quickly into his spine. So I lock all the vertebra in his neck all the way down to his hips. So again, I connect my pressure at his head directly into his center, which is what I want to control. So you don't want to do this. You don't want to step in and reach way around to here. I haven't broken Glenn's posture. I haven't locked his head into his hips, and he's perfectly stable here. I can't throw him. So what I want to do is I want to file across here and wrap it tight so that Glenn's head looks upward. Now that's locked his spine all the way down to his hips. So I control him down here. I get here, I shift my weight forward and lean in. I've broken his posture. I put my foot down in front and I move my hips outside of his right side and I wrap him around my body and then I spring up and throw him. Now you can protect your partner's head here by cupping a little bit. Don't let his head hit the mat. And you're right above him. You can maintain control here and follow up or do leverages or whatever you'd like. So I grab very lightly with soft grip. I swing this out and file in here like I'm rubbing across the side of his neck here and twist. And as I do that, I shift my weight forward, step in, my hips go out, and I throw. Okay, one more time, a little bit easier. Very important again, you don't want to strike him this way like a ridge hand and knock him away from you, then you can't join centers. So come across smoothly and file, move in one smooth movement here. And I come through here, now our centers are joined. He's subordinate to my center. All I have to do is spring out of my feet, and I'll throw him. Okay, in this first application, my partner's going to throw a roundhouse punch, a big haymaker at me. Very common attack in the street. So he's going to cock his hand and start swinging it at me. Now in this case, because it's not going to be near as fast as a straight, direct punch, I'll have time to intercept it early. So if I see Todd cocking his arm, I intercept early and I catch it here. Now, I'm not blocking with my hands, I'm moving my body forward, and I'm using my mass and my legs to push into his arm. I want to stop his hand before it comes forward of his shoulder. Once it gets into this range, it's very powerful. This is structurally very weak. If Todd pushes from here, he has no power at all. This way. So he cocks the punch, and I step in, and I intercept. And I want to strike upward under his chin to bring his center up from here. Now if I knock him down, I'm done. But if not, or I don't hit him as hard as I wanted to, I start to wrap this way. This wraps over here. This starts to file around his neck, and I toe in my back foot. Here, I turn, throw. Okay. So, on a safe distance, my opponent cocks a punch. I strike, step, throw. One more time. Very important not to hesitate. If you're going to intercept early, you have to go as soon as he moves. Off the attack line. Don't stay in front of him and do it. I'm out of the way here. Okay? Once I've struck him, I just wrap in, just go out, and I throw him down. I try to maintain control here. Okay, I have his arm, and I have my weight down on him. Next time. Okay, this is another technique off of a front choke. Now, this time we're going to assume the opponent's using a little bit more forward force. He's going to try to push me back. First thing is I don't want to let him tilt me back this way. Now, I'm in a very weak angle. I want to keep my hips back, okay? I sink my hips back and I keep I keep my alignment, my head up, and I keep my hips in. My hands are going to come in from the inside. Now, if he's got a good hold, I don't want to push outward this way. He's very strong. What I do is I come up forward, right past his neck. My shoulder will lift his hand off my neck. I don't need to fight force against force. I come forward, and I drop his hand over. And I'm already filing his neck here. And I have the weight of my arm here holds his arm in tight. I don't need to use any force in my arms. I just drop them around, back, hips come out, and then I spring up and throw him. Okay, so he's choking me. Okay, I drop my hips down so I'm stable, and I spring out of my back foot, coming forward, wrapping, and throw. One more time. Okay, choking. Here, step, throw. This is the first of the spiral throws, and this is a rear hip spiral. Now, spiral throws go either forward or backwards. Rear spirals take the person back over their heels, and front spirals turn them forward over their toes this way. So a rear hip spiral obviously is going to take the person to the rear. And how this works is we want to hold on, control the opponent's arm. We can hold the wrist or we can hold the elbow. And we try to get the elbow and trap it up under our own arm here. And I keep my arm heavy, my elbow holds it in. Now, his humerus bone is directly connected to his shoulder, which of course is directly connected through his torso to his hips. So I want to pull his humerus bone perpendicular to his baseline. So the weakest angle from the rear, if you draw a straight line between his feet and go straight out from it, his baseline, if I pull his elbow towards that point, he starts to lose his balance backwards. That's how I'm going to break his posture. So I have a hold here. Okay, I have a hold here. I want to step out to the side with my left foot and lean away a bit. And this starts to pull him perpendicular to his baseline this way. Breaks his hips and shoulder alignment here. From there, as I do that, I'm going to wrap his neck, right, a little hook here. Now, I'm not going to step back here and sweep. That's an okay technique. It's a good technique. But if Todd's strong and he straightens his leg, he'll throw me down first. So what I want to do is, to be safer, I keep him off balance. I step straight forward here. Now his posture's even worse. If Todd pulls now, he throws himself down. Okay, I'm very, very stable. So I catch here. I take the slack out of his arm to connect to his center. I step out. This goes around his neck with a hook. I step straight up, keep my posture forward. Now I just turn my body and bend over towards this leg. That throws him around my hip. And again, I have control here. I have his arm, and I put weight down on him. I can follow up from here. So, grab your opponent's humerus bone here behind the elbow. Pull his arm up under your armpit. Step out to the side. Don't step and then yank the opponent. You've already joined centers. It's like if I'm a car and this is a rope and he's a car. I slowly take the slack out and he comes with me. I don't need to jerk. I step out and I hook here. I step up. Then I turn. It comes right around. Okay? One more time, please. Now, it's very important to keep your alignment. So, as always, we always want to keep our shoulders and hips aligned. If I say 1 and I go 2 and I lose my shoulder-hip alignment, now if Todd's strong again, he can pull me back and throw me down. So you have to use, we're not using any force, we're using alignment momentum. So it's very important here not to let your alignment break. So I step 1, 2, and I turn in a unit, shoulders and hips together. I maintain the 4 levels, keep my head up, and I drop them right here in front of me. All right, this first self-defense technique is someone's inside my safe distance and we're going into the grappling range. So we're right about here. Terry has his hands up. He's going to grab me. We're going to lock up. Okay? Now, if I have a chance before I lock up, I want to move off his attack line again and take his balance, move his posture. So as Terry lunges forward, I divide my hands out, and I pull his head to the side immediately. So I've got him leaned over to the side. Now I'm set up for the throw. I step straight up behind, keep my posture, turn, throw him around my hip, and I have control right here. So he's a little too close to me, and he comes forward. I divide, and I take him out to the side immediately. Step, and turn. Okay? One more time. So I'm in here, divide his power and catch, step, turn. Okay. Okay, Glenn? All right, the next technique, somebody grabs my lapel, and they're going to punch me in the face. Okay? Also a very common scenario in the street. I'm going to check Glenn's arm from the outside. Now, I can't get inside and wrap this way now because his arm's here. I can't get my hand in. But I can get exactly the same effect by hooking over the top. So I get control up here. He'll help me by hanging on. So Glenn cocks his hand to hit me. I move off the attack line like always, and I hit him in the face. If I'm too late and I move away, I can use this to block that punch. All right? So Glenn pulls me and hits, and I slide this up. I can hit him and then slide it. I step up past him, and I turn. He comes around here. Maintain control. Always keep your weight in your own base. Don't lean over. Sink in your hips. Keep your back straight. And keep relaxed. Okay, so he has a hold of me. He comes to strike. I move out of the way. I step and throw. Here. All right? Good. Now, one other example is when you set up a throw correctly and you have a good angle, it's very easy to flow from one throw to the next. You can chain them together. Now, this is a very good example of two throws we've already covered. If I'm here, or if I have Glenn wrapped up, for example, I'm going to do the basic throw we just did, the backward hip spiral. I step out here 1, and I step past 2. Now, if I have good posture and his posture's broken, the only way he can escape from this throw now is to step back with his right foot, here. Now, I don't want to stop. I already have control. So from here, I step back in and do the headlock hip throw. So this is an example of chaining them together. And this can be done with all the throws. You can put lots of throws together with other throws. So I wrapped him up. I'm going to try to step and throw him around my hip. I go 1, and I step, but he steps back with me. I just tighten this up, swing my hips in, and throw. Okay, one more time, please. So we're locked up here. 1, 2, he steps, and I throw. Make sure you keep your balance. Use weight dropping. Don't use force. Spring out of your hips. Let your weight come back down naturally. Very, very relaxed. This throw is called the chin hook spiral. Actually, it involves 3 spirals. 1 to the rear, the second to the rear, and then the third one forward. What I'm going to do here is, you're going to hold your partner's wrist lightly and step behind them with your back foot. And as you step behind, you're going to swing your arm around their neck. Now, in a real fight, you can use this to strike here. Swing it around here, and your hand comes up under their chin here. And you're going to drop your elbow. This is a first-class lever. Again, I want to turn Terry's head up to look over his shoulder around 2 different axes at once, so that locks his cervical vertebra all the way down his spine into his hips, so I can control his hips from his head. And I'm joining centers by standing behind him here. Okay? When I get to here, even if I hook his head here and I haven't broken his posture, he's still going to be very, very stable. If I try to pull from here, I won't have much power. So I need to break his posture as always to set the throw up. So I want to misalign his hips and shoulders. So as I step around behind him here, I take a little step back with my right foot, all in the same momentum flow. I go 1, 2, pull him back a little bit. Now, you'll notice that his shoulders and hips are misaligned, and he's in a bad posture. Now I lever the chin. Now I'm going to step back with my left foot, keep my centers joined by facing him. We're going to turn as a single unit now. His center subordinate to mine, and I'm going to make him sit down right there in front of me. Okay? Now from here I can go immediately into a choke. Right? My hands are behind him. I can strike him over the top. But what we're going to do is we're going to pin. From here, I put my knee in his back, and I pump this down, and I push in his shoulder, and he goes right in his face, and then I can pin from the side, or I can pin from the top, or I can even pin from the top this way if I want. So I grab his wrist, toe this foot out, step around behind him, 1, 2. And pull this back towards your waist. That breaks his alignment, his shoulders and hips. Pry his head back, step back with your left, sit him down in front of you. You can use your knee back here to brace him a little bit. Pump this arm down and push. He goes right into his face, and from there we pin. In the book we talked about a pin here between the knees. You press your knee out and drop it straight down, and his hand rests in the crease of your other leg here, so it's very secure. Right? And if you lean up, you put the leverage on. You can follow up with this hand here. Okay, one more time. So you hold your partner's wrist lightly, step around, 1, 2, and swing. Drop your elbow back with your left foot, set them down, pump this down, push the shoulder, put them on their face, and then you come up to follow up. Okay, in this self-defense technique, we're going to defend against a back fist. So someone's going to throw, you can do it off a straight punch as well, but in this case we're going to do it off a back fist strike. So Glenn cocks his hand to back fist. Again, exactly the same thing as always. I move off the line of attack. I don't want to stay here and block. When I see his torso coming forward, I move out of the way and I throw my hands up loosely. I turn my waist so that my center's aimed at his, and I've joined centers. We've blended the motion of our torsos. My hands are springy and I aim into his center. From here I can strike, all right? After that, I take another step forward and I swing around to the same place. Drop my elbow, back with my left foot, and set him down. Pump the arm down, and I pin. So he throws a back fist, off the attack line, strike, catch, drop your elbow, set him down. Make sure you follow him down. Don't let him pull you over your base here. Follow him down. Keep your alignment. Pin. And then from here you can go to whatever pin you like. You back fist, check, hit, step, break his posture, sit him down, go down with him, pin. Okay. All right, this technique is the chin hook spiral against a side headlock attempt. So this is a very common attack on the street. Someone gets you in a headlock and pulls you down here, and then they choke you or they punch you or throw you. So if they've gotten this close and you haven't done anything, they get inside on you. Once they have their arm around your neck, it's very counterproductive to resist backwards. If I resist and get stiffer, he can really pull me down. So what I want to do is, as he grabs me and pulls me, I move forward into him. And I move my weight forward, and I hug his arm here so that he can't connect his hands together or punch me, and controlling that arm. I push all his weight into his outside foot, so his base is very small. Now his base is misaligned. I keep a hold, I move my hips behind him, I reach over, get his chin, okay? Now he's held by me. I'm standing up straight, keeping my posture, grab his wrist, step back, take his hand off, and keep him coming backwards, just drop him on the ground, okay? Now when he grabs you here, it's very important as well not to reach around like this and grab, because he'll shoot his hand up inside and complete the hold. And I won't be able to get my hand inside here and stop him. So as he pulls me forward, go ahead, I want to shoot my hand along his chest. See, I can push that down and control his arm there. I move around behind, hook, stand up, take this off from here, and I can follow up from here. This throw is called the head twist spiral. It's a forward spiral. We're going to twist our partner's head, lock into his hips, and throw him forward over his feet. So like the previous throws, we're going to twist his head at a 45-degree angle, locks his cervical vertebra down into his hips. Then we're not going to try to twist his head and throw him. We're going to throw him by the hole in our head, through his head, down into his hips. So what I want to do is I want to hook my hand here, and I'm going to hit his chin a little bit and pop his head up this way, take all the slack out of his neck. Now I leave my arms heavy, and I join centers through my hold here. So I aim straight at him. I keep right in front of him. I step back with my left foot and turn. Okay, now when you practice, it's a very dangerous throw. You're twisting your partner's head. So as they fall, after a certain point, let their head go. Don't keep twisting it. It's very dangerous. So left on the back of the neck, weight of your arm here, hit their chin and twist up. So it immediately takes the slack out of their spine. Make sure your arms are heavy. Hold them as joined to you, so you're joined. Your centers are joined here through your hold. Step back with your left foot, and then when he falls, let him go. And one more time. One. Be sure to twist it at a 45-degree angle upward. Now, don't step back in an attempt to pull. You've disjoined centers here. You want to transfer the momentum through your arms, facing them, so your centers stay joined. Here. Let go. Okay. Okay, in his first application, your opponent grabs you in a front bear hug. Now, this doesn't look very threatening, but it can be. He can lift me up and throw me down, and he can use his head, he can use his knees. So you need to do something immediately. So that's what we're going to do here. As he grabs me, I'm going to try to relax and sink my hips and my weight down with my arms heavy. Make it a little bit harder for him to lift me up. I make myself heavy here. I'm going to reach up with my hands very close in here. My right hand is going to get under his chin here, my left on the back of his neck. Now, let's turn this way, Terry. If your opponent tries to bury his head into your chest while he squeezes you, just feel his head until you get his eyeball. Push his eye, and it'll bring his head back up. Then you grab his chin, okay, and the same mechanic. Keep twisting, step back, let him fall. So you need to move in a unit. Make sure that you stay joined, your center stay joined here. Don't turn first and then twist his head. Let's go this way. So your opponent gets you front bear hug. Make yourself heavy here. Slide your hands up into place. Twist, push up. Now, keep very relaxed, chest to chest. Turn, and let them fall. All right, one more time. If they grab you and they attempt to lift right away, you need to wrap one of your legs to limit their mobility. And you do the same thing. Your hands are free. Get the same thing. Push the eye if you have to. Twist the head. Keep twisting as they lose their balance. Throw. If they pull you down on top, one more time. If they hang on to you, we'll do this kind of slow. If you're twisting and they hang on and go down, you fall right down on top. So you're on top of here. The dominant position, you can strike or do some other technique. So you end up on top of them. Okay. The next technique, if you're locked in standing grappling, for example, your opponent gets inside safe distance and they grab you and you're locked up here. It's a good idea to control the back of their neck anyway. And check an arm. They could be grabbing me, on the chest or both hands on my neck. I want one hand around the neck and control. When you get a chance, you stay relaxed and centered. This hand slips under and bam, hits them right in the chin. You turn their head, step back and throw. Okay, let's turn this thing over. So you're locked up here in grappling. Slip your hand through, strike right under here. Very hard for them to stop. Twist the head, step back, and throw. Okay, thanks. And this last technique, this is also very common. People come at you and they swing wild punches. They swing wild haymakers at your head. Now, if you get caught inside, you don't have time to move to a good angle. Maybe Todd swings one hand, right? And I block, I have nothing, I'm covering my head. This is a natural reaction. But once they get close to you and you're inside, say I get caught off guard and he swings at me, I cover my head, I immediately just go forward and grab. And I twist, right, okay? Very direct. Here I don't have a chance to get off the attack line because I'm right in front of him. So I don't want to keep striking and hitting, and here he's got a lot of chance to hit me back. I want to immediately ruin their posture, break their posture, and get out of the way. So one more time, he's coming at me. He's swinging, I'm blocking. As soon as I have a chance, I shoot up for the head and throw. Okay, thanks. This is also a spiral throw. It's called the arm lift head spiral. We're going to make a coupling effect. We're going to lift our partner's arm up and pull his head down so it makes him rotate around his center at a kind of an oblique angle. So I grab his wrist. I'm going to step up past him. At the same time, I'm going to keep my arm relaxed to keep the slack out of his arm. I'm going to swing it up behind him and then around towards his opposite shoulder. That locks his arm into his shoulder, which locks into his hips, and that starts to turn his waist. As I do that, my left hand is going to strike up, catch behind his neck here, and turn this way. Okay? So I have his wrist, I step up, and one body motion. Again, I want to turn my torso towards him so that I blend the motion of my torso with my opponent. So I step up here and I turn. Now from here, I move back with my left foot and pull his head directly towards my hip. And this stays more or less stationary with the pressure still on. As it comes around, I step back with my right foot and I let him fall right here. And I keep my hand underneath here. And I can use this pressure here to break the arm. Okay? Let's do it from the other side. So from this same one, I have their arm. I step up, hook the head, pull the head back, and turn. I end up right here. You can use pressure here. You can just let them fall and then follow up with something else. Okay, one more time. Grab the wrist, swing and hit at the same time. Join the momentum of your torso with his by aiming at him this way. One. Now I've joined centers here through the arm and the head. I step back, take him down. Okay, one more time. This is analogous to this throw also works very well. You can step forward and throw them. The only problem is when you step in here, his other hand can reach you. You can strike in the groin or grab your leg. So this variation avoids that danger. You have a safe avenue of escape because you step away and you take him down. Okay. Okay, this first application, let's stand this way. It's an overarm bear hug from the rear. Also very, very common attack. So it gets me in a bear hug over my arms. My arms are pinned against my side. Now the first thing I want to do in any rear hold is, I don't want to let him tilt me back. He can lift me and throw me backwards like a suplex, or he can dump me sideways. So I want to spread my base and throw my hips backwards here. And I bring my hands up. I can bend him from the elbow down. And I bring him up like I'm holding a ball. Now, he can still lift me, but he's very strong, but it gives me a second to do my technique. So I throw my hips back, keep my body straight. Now I come up straight, and as I do, I keep my hands where they are in space, and I just lift my elbows up, and his hand should slide up off your shoulders. Your right hand's covering on top. You hold onto his wrist. If you don't cover, he'll go directly into a choke, and you've got to do another technique. So he's got me here. I squat, throw my hips back, and bring my hands up here. I straighten up, and they slide up, and I grab his wrist, and I elbow straight back into the ribs to stun him. Gives me a little hole. This hand pierces up through here. I move away from his live hand. I can control this hand, but this hand's free. He can hit me with it or choke me with it. So I need to move away from that hand. I move around, and I throw. Okay. So he grabs me in a bear hug, tight. I immediately lower my base, throw my hips back, and raise my hands. I straighten up and I drop my pelvis down. I don't try to pull his arms up. I drop my body down below it. I rotate my hands up, catch the wrist, strike, bring this up inside his head, turn around, push this over, pull his head back, and throw. I have this here. Okay. Overarm bear hug. And immediately I relax, spread my base, throw my hips back. Hands come up, straighten up, strike, and throw. Now, analogous to that is an underarm bear hug. So he grabs me under the arms. I have my hands free, but he still has control of my entire body. Again, he can lift me up and throw me, or he can hold me, he can push me down forward. So I have to react immediately. I do exactly the same thing as the first technique. I spread my base and I throw my hips back. Now, this is more stable, but he's very strong. He'll still lift me up from here. He can still lift me up. Okay. So to prevent that, what I want to do is, if I feel him start to lift, I grab one of his legs. Now he's lifting, but he's pulling out of his own leg here. So it's very hard for him to lift me off the ground. Now this hand that's free, I use the 4 fingers, and I get one finger, his little finger, his weakest one. Okay? I use 4 to dig out his little finger, and I break it backwards. And as soon as his grip loosens, I grab his wrist, and I push back again and make some space. Okay? I elbow back to his head. I step out, around, and take him down the same way. So he grabs me an underarm bear hug. I lower my base. Okay? If he starts to lift, I hold a leg. My free hand, I get 4 fingers, I break his little finger up. Okay, I push again, I get a hold. I elbow back to disturb him, divides his attention. I step out, around, and down. Okay. In this application, we're going to use the technique against someone who shoots for your leg, like a forward tackle or a single leg takedown. Now, if someone's coming down towards you, say we're fighting and I'm watching Glenn's center and I see his body lower, right? He comes down. If I attempt to stay up here and stop him, it's very dangerous. If a good grappler gets a hold of even one leg, you're going to go down to the mat. So say Glenn shoots down and I try to stay here and stop him and he goes in, I'm going to get taken down. It's going to take me down. So what I want to do is, as he drops, I move off the attack line like always, and I lower my body as well. So Glenn comes in to shoot, I move off the attack line. I want to keep him away from both of my legs. This leg, I swing back out of the way of this hand so he can't reach. My front hand, I drop down in front of my leg here, and I catch it here so that he can't get around my front leg. Now from here, I don't have his wrist, but if I wrap this way, I get the same effect. See his arm still going towards his opposite shoulder. And I push down on his head, and I take him down here. So I'm watching, he starts to go low. I move out of the way and catch, and throw. And I still have his elbow here. This next technique is called a leg bar spiral. It's specifically designed to deal with kicking attacks. You're going to bar your opponent's leg and then move him in a spiral, a forward or reverse spiral depending on the kick. And the mechanics of the kick are the technique are like this. if you catch someone's foot when they kick you, you hold it close to your hip, you put your forearm above their knee, and you sink your weight a little bit. So you take the slack out of their leg, and their femur bone, of course, is joined directly to their center. So if I pull the femur, it's going to pull the center directly. So I have my weight here. I'm going to step back with my back foot and spin. And that pulls the opponent out of his feet, away from me with centrifugal force, and he falls here. And I follow him down. I keep the 4 levels. I bend at the knees and hips, and I keep my back straight and in my base here. Okay, now this is analogous to if Glenn kicks me, right, and I catch his foot. This technique is very similar, where you move in and you sweep from here, or you step behind and throw him from here. Now that's a very good technique. The only problem is, with a good fighter, as soon as you get close to him, he's going to jump up and grab a hold of you, and he's going to take you down with him, and then now I'm on the ground with him, not to wrestle. So to avoid that, this technique moves you away from the opponent, and centrifugal force literally pulls him away from you as he falls. Okay, one more time, please. So I have his foot. You need to hold this close to your hip. Don't hold it away from me out here. You have no control. You'll yank his foot up very easily from there. Hold it in tight here, and your arms relaxed. Pressure just above his knee. Swing your back foot back and pull. Takes him up into the air, and he lands on his back over here. Okay? Now, the same exact technique can be done off the other leg. Notice I'm on the exact same side. I still have his foot by my left hip, my hand above his leg. The only difference between this and the previous technique is I'm going to start to spin, then I'm going to push my hip forward into his hip. So I use pressure from my center directly against his center. I've joined centers here and here, and now his center's subordinate to mine, and I throw him on his face. So from here I step like this. He falls over flat on his face. Very dangerous throw, so be careful when you practice. Make sure you can do front falls. Okay, now, as a technique, I'm looking at his chest still. I'm not worrying about what limb is coming at me. When he moves across safe distance, I move. He comes to kick me with a right kick. I see his foot coming, I just drop my hand. If I miss it, it's okay, I still strike him and follow up. But if I catch it, as he kicks me, I catch it, I strike forward, I have his foot. Striking forward is a good idea because it keeps him away from you. He's going to want to jump in and grab me. I don't want him to. Now I stay away from him and I move back. And I do a spiral. Okay? Okay, one more time. So he comes across safe distance, I move and catch, and I throw him with a back spiral. All right, now off the other kick. When someone's attacking me, I don't have time, even if I know it's a kick coming, I don't have time to decide, should I go to my right, should I go to my left? I just move one way. It works the same exact way off either kick. If he throws the left kick now, I'm out of the way, and I'm hitting at him. I come here, I spin, push my hip in, he falls flat on his face. I'm in exactly the same position though, in my feet, keeping my back straight, and I'm stable. Okay, one more time. So he throws a left kick off the attack line. If I catch it here, and I throw. Okay. Okay, now the last section we're going to do sacrifice throws. Sacrifice throws involve you falling to the ground with your opponent, and the primary mechanic is weight dropping. You attach to your opponent and join centers, then you drop your weight to the ground and that pulls them to the ground with you. Okay, they're very useful in certain situations. There's sometimes in a fight you can't avoid going to the ground, and they're your last chance to maintain a dominant position. In this particular throw, this is called an arm and leg scissor throw. I'm literally going to make a coupling effect with my legs and my arms, and I'm going to scissor his lower body and cause him to fall backward in an arc. This is a sacrifice throw that's an arc. Okay? So his head's going to come back from the upright position straight back to the mat. And how I'm going to do this is, I'm going to go down next to him and stand beside Todd and put my hand on the mat very close to his foot. Now I don't want to collapse my arm, I want to keep it almost straight so that it's very stable. I'm going to reach around the front of his hips with my left arm and try to grab on this hip, and I want to move in very close here. I'm going to swing around in slow motion. This foot's going to drop right here, and my left foot's going to stack up right on top of it. Now it's important not to leave his leg back because he'll fall on top of it and it'll hurt your leg. So my feet are going to be stacked up here and straight. My feet are just a barrier so that Todd can't step back. I'm going to attach across his waist and fall, and my weight falling underneath him pulls his hips over his base and he falls down. It misaligns his base and he falls backwards. Okay, so I go down here, reach around his waist, I swing and sit. It throws him down right there on the mat. So I attach to his waist, swing underneath, and my weight dropping pulls him over his base and he falls here. Okay? So I put my hand down. It has to be close. You have to fall into your partner to make them fall. If I grab here and fall away and pull, it's not going to work. Still be standing up. So I want to put my hand down, grab around his waist. I want to rotate my body as I fall. If I fall and then try to pull, it's going to be very difficult to take him down. So as I go down, I turn it upright. I want to be sitting up straight when he hits the mat, not laying backwards. So I come down from here. That's it. You see, I rotate up this way so my body's still straight. Keep my shoulders and hips in line even as I fall to here. Now, in a fight, his legs are on top of me. I've got to be very careful he doesn't kick me in the head or knee me in the head here. So what I do is, as he falls, his legs come up, I scoop up underneath his knees with one arm, and I pull his knees into my chest to control his legs a little. I keep my left arm across his hips to control his hips a little bit. I scissor my feet, and I press down here, holding his waist. I slide my left knee up under his armpit from here, and I keep my weight down. Now I want to turn him away from me so he can't hit me. So I cover my head, and I lay down, and I press his feet away from me and hold from here. And then I can follow up. I can bring my knees in tight. I can knee him in the kidney with my right knee, or I can hold here and use my elbow, or I can just get up and go. Okay? Okay, one more time. So I go down, put my hand on the mat, reach around his hips, swing my feet, and sit up. And drop, see, I scoop his legs up, scissor my feet, I move up, and press him down on the mat here. I'm behind him. Much safer position. I want to turn him away from me here. I keep my chest up and my hips down. To hold on, I can use my elbows or my knees here. First one is an escape from an armbar. If Ty grabs my wrist and he presses down on my arm and he bends me over in an armbar. Okay, if it's not locked down here, I can try to wiggle and escape. But once he squats down and he presses against his thighs, in here, squat down one more time. There. Now I can't get back up. There's a lot of pressure on my elbow. The next thing he's going to do is sweep my foot out or start hitting me with his hand, so I've got to do something quick. I can't get back up, so I do that technique. I put my hand on the mat, take him down, scissor, flatten him out, and I follow from behind. Okay, one more time. So we're fighting. My opponent gets me in an armbar, and there's no way I can get back up. Go down, scoop and scissor, come up, take him down here, and I can follow it from here. I can use my knees, I can use my elbows, or I can escape away safely. I have a safe avenue of escape. The next technique is the side headlock. Let's do it this way now. So my opponent comes in the side, and he's going to reach down and get me in a headlock. Okay? Now, if I'm already being pulled down and I'm too late to go in and hug him, he's already locked his arms, I want to keep my right arm wedged in between us. If he bends me down with my hand back here, now I'm in a very bad spot. Okay? What I want to do is turn sideways a bit. As he pulls me down, I wedge my hand in between us, and I extend it around his hips. And I fall, take it down, and I'm in exactly the same position I was just in. Here. Okay, one more time. So, he comes in from the side, he bends me over into the headlock. As I come down, I wedge my arm in here, and I get it across his hips. Take him down. Okay, keep weight here, scissor, roll, flatten out, and then I can fall up and escape. Okay, good. This sacrifice throw is called a headlock back roll. It's a circle throw. His feet are going to make a 360 revolution forward. It's a forward circle. This is a very close infighting throw when you're wrapped up with the opponent. It goes from, normally when you're infighting and a person shoots for your legs or grabs you on the waist and drives you backwards, you have no other choice but to go backwards. So you fall and throw him and you end up on top, and it goes directly into submission choke. Now the principle of the throw is this. If I bring his head forward past, and I keep his hips stationary, and then I pull his head back under, he'll flip over. So if I do it from the side without my body throwing so you can see it more clearly, if I get some momentum and I pull out, and then whip, he'll go over just like that. Now I'm going to do that with my body attached to his. It's like we're two halves of the same ball. We have to join centers and roll together. So I join centers at his neck, and my leg's going to hook inside of his leg and join centers at the bottom, so we roll as one unit. Here's what the throw looks like. I hold on to his upper arm up here, and I kind of drop my weight here and make this part of me. This hand's going to reach around his neck here, far around as I can get it. I don't want to grab out here. I want to get very close so that the back of his neck is under my armpit here. And I bring this right up under his throat. You can see here, it's a guillotine choke. It goes right into his windpipe. Very dangerous choke. So I have a hold of him here. I'm going to sit down underneath him. I want to weight drop below his hips so that his head goes forward and he flips over. If I have him like this and I fall backwards, he'll fall on top of me here, and I have a pretty good position, but I'm still wrestling. I haven't got on top of him. All right? So it's very important in this, in the air, as you go down for the throw, you need to move forward underneath him and sit down. And then we're going to roll back over on top like this. Now, you need to be able to do a back roll before you can do this throw. So the details are all in the book. Be sure you practice the back roll. You can't roll over your head. You've got to roll over your shoulder so that you don't have to put any pressure on your neck. Okay, the throw looks like this. I hold him down in the guillotine, keep my weight centered. I'm going to bend my knees and just weight drop. The speed of gravity. Gravity's going to pull me down underneath Glenn, and I'm going to hook his leg. Throw. I'm going to land on the balls of my feet here, not my knees. Balls of my feet. I drop my knees after. This hand supports. I keep a hold of his neck. I sit up. I bring my right foot up for base, and I just lift, and that'll choke him. Okay, when you feel pressure on your neck, be sure you tap immediately. Tap your partner. For the person choking, when your partner taps, release the pressure. So how I'm choking is this. I have his head here. I'm sitting down, lifting my chest. And I'm inhaling, and I'm pulling up under his throat, and that stretches his neck and puts pressure here. So I have Glenn this way. I just lift up, not chokes him, okay? In the submission. All right. One more time. Control his arm here. Wrap around his neck, tight. We join centers here, and my leg joins here. We roll like a ball. I do weight dropping underneath. I sit and throw. Pulls me over. Okay, balls of my feet. Drop my knees in tight. Don't lay back like this. Bring your knees up into his armpits. Foot up for power. And lift your chest. Okay, and that chokes him. All right, one more time. Okay, very close. Weight of your arms. Arms are heavy like always, like we talked about. No power on the arms. They're just heavy. They attach. Okay, don't try to yank him back. Just drop your weight. Go down. Throw. Land on the balls of your feet. Bring your knees up. Press up from your hand. Outside foot comes up on the mat. Sit back and choke. Okay. Okay, now this is the throw in actual application. When you get caught between your opponent's arms or you're grappling, especially when they shoot, you got to get a hold of your waist here. Now, it's too late for me to do anything else. I'm not going to be able to hit him very hard. He's going to take me down in a second on my back. He'll lift me up. I'm going to be helpless. So what I want to do is, as he shoots, I sink my weight, just swing my arms around and connect with him, and I sit, land the balls of my feet, knees up, foot up, lift my chest and choke. Okay? Alright? For example, maybe my opponent throws a roundhouse punch, and I try to intercept early, and as I go to do something, he shoots in. Now, same thing, I'm going to have to go down. I'm going to have to fall backwards. So I fall, throw, come up, and choke. Okay? One more time. Or you might just be fighting and your opponent's faster than you expected, and he goes down and catches you right here. So he's already got me again. No other choice. He's driving forward. I collapse under him, lift with my leg, balls my feet, knees up, choke. This last throw is also a sacrifice throw. It's a spiral. It's called the forearm hook spiral. We're going to attach to our opponent's forearm here. We're going to hook over it. We're going to fall and pull him into our momentum flow, and he'll spiral over our body. It's like he's going down in a whirlpool. So what it involves is I need to attach here, hold it onto the inside of his wrist with soft grip, and I drop my elbow over heavily here. I'm going to transfer my momentum from the back of my arm through the front of his arm here. This is where the momentum is transferred. Now this momentum is transferred through pulling. It's analogous to if I was a car, this is a rope, and I'm going to tow him. Once the slack's out here, my movement influences his movement directly. So I'm going to join centers through his arm down into his hips. So I'm here. I need to step up and take the slack out of his arm. If I'm too close and there's any play in his arm, it's not going to work. It's going to be able to resist. So I need to hang on here. Now I'm not using any force in my arm. It's just hanging here. I'm going to step out in front of him here a little bit. See, and I'm pulling his elbow directly to the center of his base here, his weakest angle to the front. So again, we explained it before, and it's in great detail in the book. If you have a line between his base and you go straight out in front of it, that's the weakest angle to the front. I'm not aiming his wrist there, I'm pulling his elbow towards that point. That misaligns his hips and shoulders, it pulls his shoulder forward of his hip. Then he's set up to throw. So I have it hooked here, I step up, toe in, I want to turn to face my opponent, so we join centers. Again, we're moving like one circular object, like a ball, spiraling downward. I step up here and I turn. Now it's very important I maintain my shoulder and hip alignment. If I turn with my upper body and twist, it won't work. Or if I pull my hips before my arm, it won't work. I need to move in a unit, keep my alignment here. I turn towards him, I take the slack out. Now I'm going to collapse this leg, I'm just going to lay down. And as I lay down, because the slack's out of his arm and he's pulled to a weak angle, he'll flip over the front of me. So, little momentum, I step and fall, take him down to the mat. Okay, now it's completely weight dropping, it requires no force whatsoever. I'm going to grab, the follow-up in the book is this. As soon as he hits the mat, I grab his wrist with my left hand and I drop my arm here, bang, into his face, an elbow. So that divides his attention. Okay? I can put my leg up here to hold him down a little bit if I want. I reach under his elbow, grab my own wrist, I inhale, I lift up and pull down on his wrist. There you go. And that makes an elbow bar. Okay? Alternately, if I land, I can also just throw his arm and get up immediately and get away, if you'd like. Okay, a little bit smoother. Now remember, it's one momentum flow. You can't step and brace and then jerk and it won't work. You need to transfer momentum smoothly, like you're one object. So I step and fall. Take him to the mat, switch hands, elbow. I can bring this leg up and I can elbow bar this way. Okay? One other follow-up is, if I want to stick my hand under his neck, I can hold him here, bring my knee up behind this elbow, and I pull his wrist back and I lift my leg forward. That also is an elbow bar. You can choke him here as well. Alright, one more time. You don't use, make sure not to use any force up here. Just attach here, step and fall. Step away and fall. Take him down, elbow. You can trap him with your leg here if you like a little. You can elbow bar this way. You can shoot your hand under here, turn towards him, and elbow bar this way. Either way will work. Obviously, you need to have his arm down here. You don't want, if his arm's up here, it's going to be very hard to get your hand over. You don't want to reach too high. I want to catch under here. So, for example, if Terry throws a straight punch at my body, and I'm too late to move, very well out of the way, and I'm too late to enter, what I do is I just kind of avoid it and I try to catch. As it comes past, I drop my arm over and I catch his wrist with my left hand and I attach here. Okay? I can strike him first if I want to and I attach here, then I step and throw. Alright? One more time. Okay. So I'm very close, he shoots a punch. I'm surprised. I catch it. I get out of the way and catch. I can strike if I want. From here, I keep the slack out, step, turn, throw. And then from here, I can follow up. Whatever. I can use my knee. I can hook my foot. Okay? Right? Now, another application is, if you're grappling with someone, you're trying one of the other techniques we talked about before, maybe a chin hook, or I'm trying to do an arm bar, and he resists and pushes forward. Or if I'm in here and I'm trying to wrap him up for a throw, and he resists and pushes forward, right? Knocks me off balance. I don't want to let go of the connection that I have and start over, because then he's going to start punching me. So maybe I'm here, I'm doing an arm bar, and he pushes, I just absorb it. I have to yield to the force, and he comes off balance. So he's pushing me, I yield, and fall. Take him to the mat, and follow up again. Okay, one last time. So I'm attempting another technique, and I'm in here, and I get pushed back. I just step out, take him down, boom, and I follow up here. I have him down. Okay. Okay. I'd like to take the time now to thank my friends and fellow martial artists for helping with this tape. They're all very skilled and outstanding martial arts in their own right, and I'm very appreciative of their help. Glenn Rosenzweig, Todd Everhart, and Terry Spalding. Thank you very much.